Hey guys, you're probably wondering why I'm sitting down here on the floor. Well, I promised you guys that I would do another video, a remake video for the horror movies that I have. Because A, I never really finished it on my last channel. B, new channel. And C, also I got more movies, of course, more horror movies ever since then. So, now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do um, the number ones to G, and then the next video it'll be, you know, H through whatever I feel like would probably be the best to stop at. And also, I did say that I do have some on like Voodoo and all that, so like digital copies. I don't have the physical copies, so I will do those as well. And then if there's any updates, like if there's any horror movies that I get that are part of the certain section that I have, I will do a video update on them and talk about them as well. Now, I'm not going to make these videos big, or as big as I can try to make them, because, well, I'm sure you guys just want to see the selection. I will give a brief discussion about the videos, or the movies that I have, hopefully not too long on them. Alright, let's get started, guys. Alright, so for the start of the video, we are going to start with 28 Days Later and 28 Weeks Later. This is a zombie film, both of them are, and it's pretty interesting. I'm not really a zombie horror movie fan exactly, but this movie ideally was a lot of fun to watch. 28 Days Later, 28 Weeks Later, it's pretty much the same way. Not as good, but still pretty interesting. For the next selection is a film franchise. It's the Alien movies. Alien, Aliens, Alien 3, and Alien Resurrection. Now, these star the sci-fi queen Sigourney Weaver, and ever since I watched these movies, I fell in love with her. She is an amazing actress, and I honestly didn't know she was in a couple of other movies that I've seen her in. Like, once when I've seen her in this movie, I've noticed that I've seen her in so many other movies that I honestly didn't even pay attention to. So she is definitely up there with Jamie Lee Curtis as one of my favorite horror movie stars. But the Alien franchise is an amazing franchise. The first one, amazing. Aliens, pretty good. Definitely a good one. It's made by James Cameron, and he does an amazing job. If you've seen the movie Avatar, which I'm sure you have, you will probably notice a lot of the props from Avatar were from this movie, Alien. It seems like James Cameron kind of does use the same kind of props and all that, unless if he's just trying to be like, doing some sort of Easter egg with it. I have no idea. Alien 3, pretty good movie. I liked it. It's a little dark. It's a little different from the first two movies, but I still enjoyed it. I know it didn't get a lot of good reviews, but I still liked it. And Alien Resurrection, it's definitely a joke, but it's still fun to watch, especially with the CGI. It's kind of laughable at times, but I still enjoyed it a whole lot to where I love the Alien franchise so much to where I could still enjoy this movie. The next on the list I've talked about that Chris Stuckman has introduced me to this movie, and also a couple of my friends have introduced me to this movie as well. It is American Psycho. American Psycho has drawn a blank on his name, Christian Bale. He, if you know him, he is in the Dark Knight movies. He is an amazing actor. This is coming from the guy that couldn't remember his name. But it's a good psychological thriller. It talks about a man who kills for fun. And it goes through his life, his everyday life, on what he does and what goes through his head. I won't give spoilers. I know the movie's been out for years, but just in case if you haven't seen it, I won't say anything, so spoiler free here in this video. But definitely a good twist towards the end of the movie. It definitely makes you think a whole lot. It makes you want to rewatch the movie again just to get everything. And another joke that goes through this is that he has to go take his VHSs back to the store. Yeah. Alright. Next one on the list is As Above, So Below. Now, a lot of people may have not liked this movie mainly because it's just another found footage movie. And found footage movies seem to do the same stuff. And, well, I don't know, just something about this movie really differed from quite a few of the other ones. I liked it mainly because it shows this woman as the main character who is, I mean, she is kick-ass in this movie. She is amazing, and she makes me think of Laura Croft a bit. And if you watch this movie, hopefully you can understand why. But I love the movie mainly because it shows a woman as the main character who is very strong and can take care of herself. And I love movies that do that, that show, women can do just as much as men can. And, I like a diverse type movie when it has diverse characters. I like when movies do that and they don't stick with the stereotypical shit that they do with movies. So that is one thing I enjoyed. Now, yes, it did have a lot of jump scares, but I love the whole thought of them being in the catacombs, because if you've heard about the catacombs in France, it's about this place that used to be a shelter for people during the war that would help them protect from from certain bombings and all that. And so so you see a lot of skeleton bones and everything down there. And so I'm probably not giving you the right story on it, but it's along those lines. It takes place in France, and they decide to check out the catacombs. It's free for people to check out. It's a tourist place, but there are parts of the place that is locked up because people can get easily lost in there. And so what do? They sneak into the catacombs and try to go as far down as possible, and then shit goes down. It's pretty tense. It's a good movie. I wouldn't recommend it if you're not big on found footage movies, because it does give a little bit of that shaky camera vibe, and it can get a little annoying. The next one on the list is Black Swan. Black Swan is an amazing, beautiful movie. It's very dark. It's very well portrayed, and it shows a very dark image of people who want to go for perfect, and it does that so greatly with people doing ballet. And if you know anything about people who do ballet, it's a very dark thing. Some people just see ballet as beautiful, and it's very beautiful. But if you see the background, the backstory to a lot of these people, they do some very horrifying things to themselves just to be this perfect image for people to enjoy. And it's really sad, and it goes really hard into that. And it's very well done. I loved it very much. Highly recommended. Another one on the list is the Blair Witch Project. The Blair Witch Project is another found footage horror movie, and probably the one that helped start it, even though technically Paranormal Activity kind of helped gain that popularity for found footage. This movie was mainly popular because a lot of people thought that it was real, and that's how they did it. When they released this movie out, they said that it was all real. The actors they were not actors, they were actual people, and that this was an actual footage that they found. Although it's not true. Clearly, a couple years later, as you can see when the sequel Blair Witch is coming out, it's a sequel to this movie. It's still a good movie to this day, in my opinion. Not a winner for everyone, but it's still enjoyable. I like it mainly because of its I don't know, its atmosphere, I guess you could say. One thing that I really liked was that it's one of those movies that portray what you don't see is more horrifying than what you do see. And it portrays that very, very well in this movie. So this is one that's a must-see, and especially if you're excited about seeing Blair Witch, I highly recommend that you go see Blair Witch Project first before you see Blair Witch. I'm hoping I will be able to discuss Blair Witch here in a couple days or so. We'll see how that goes. The next one on the list is another Chris Stuckman video that I watched that he talked about, the Babadook. The Babadook is a very well done movie with very well thought out messages throughout the movie about adulthood and being a single mother and having to take care of your kid by yourself as a single parent. It's a very well done movie, very dark, very indie horror, very psychological, and I wish that it would have gained a whole lot of recognition because it is a very well done movie and very horrifying. The next one on the list, maybe not exactly a horror movie, it's a dark comedy, but I still think of it in the horror genre mainly because it does a lot of the horror stereotypes that you see in this, and it's Cabin in the Woods. This is made by Josh Whedon, and he does an amazing job with this movie. He does the whole stereotypical that you feel with a lot of horror movies, especially with, the whole Cabin in the Woods type genre with like Friday the 13th or Evil Dead or anything like that. Whew. Man, where to begin on this movie? It's very well done. It's very dark comedy for sure. Definitely one of my favorite dark comedies of all time. It's very freaky at times too. It does a lot of slasher flicks, zombie, monster flicks, and this ending that will leave you very, very twisted. Alright, so the next one on the list is another film franchise. It is the Child Play movies. And this one just has Child Play 2 through Seed of Chucky, and then Curse of Chucky. Now, a lot of people may not like this movie, mainly because some people just don't find dolls all that scary. I, for one, find dolls scary. And I also find clowns scary, which will be very important to talk about later on in this. But yeah, I mean, what can I say? It's stuff like that freaks me out. And Chucky in general, especially in Child's Play 1 and Curse of Chucky, freaked me out. And the thing about that is that it's based heavily on an actual doll named Robert. And Robert, the doll, is actually a cursed doll that, well, how about you go search that up for yourself? Robert the doll, go search that up. Robert the doll is definitely, it has a freaky story. And I remember a lot of, Top 15 and a lot of other horror channels talking about him because there's a reason. But yeah, he's heavily inspired by that doll. And Chucky in general, I mean, I definitely like the other movies mainly because they do have a comic relief to them, so they are fun to watch, but still has that creepy feel to them, as if you're being watched by your inanimate objects. Alright, so the next one on the list is a controversial movie, Clockwork Orange. Clockwork Orange is one of the best movies that I have ever seen, mainly because it's freaky, and it's hard to watch. Now, it's not one I could watch all the time, mainly due to its controversial matter, but also because it has a well thought out message. Can the bad guy be changed to being good? Can we force them to be good? Is there a way that we can change them? And the main character, Alex, seems to go through this. So yes, we do see a change through him, but does he change? That's for you to find out. Watch the movie if you have the stomach to. Because I'm just warning you now, it does have a lot of ultra-violence. And, well, that explains it all. But it is a good movie. It's very well done. And it's made by, made by Stanley Kubrick. But it stars Malcolm McDowell, and he is an amazing actor. And he just does an amazing job as Alex in this movie. They definitely do a lot of references from various shows on this movie for a reason. The next one on the list is Conjuring and The Conjuring 2. Both these movies are highly, highly frightening. It takes a lot for me to be scared, because I'm a big horror movie fan, but these two movies do it for me. I remember when I went to go see both of these movies in theaters, I had a hard time sleeping afterwards. I mean, honestly, I could not sleep for days after watching these two movies. They're both highly scary. And and it's interesting to see that it's based on true events. Mainly because if you've heard of the Warrens and Lorraine, it talks a lot through their story. And the thing I liked about these movies is that it discusses them. You get to know about them, and you get to know about the families that go through this terrible events. And you gotta have likable characters, and they do that. And if you haven't heard about the Warrens, look them up. They're very interesting to learn about, and I love hearing a lot of the stories that they have, especially since they did the Amityville house. They are very well known for doing that. Now, the next one on the list is The Descent. The Descent is a very, very well done movie, and I don't have the second one. I like the second one, but sadly I never got it. They're both very good, and they're both very horrifying. And also at the same time, the creatures in this can be a little irritating. But overall, very well done. Definitely want to watch it if you're claustrophobic, but even then, that's what makes it a good horror movie, especially if you're claustrophobic. The next franchise on the list are the Evil Dead movies. Another movie series that you can call a horror / dark comedy. Remake, well, not remake. I don't know what you would call it because it's not exactly a remake, but it is a good franchise. One of my favorites for sure. I remember when I went to see the Evil Dead, the reboot, sorry. It was very horrifying. And then I remember watching the Evil Dead movies, the original ones, when I rented them, and they were funny, but at the same time they were pretty freaky. But they're all very good, very fun to watch, and very entertaining, especially with Bruce Campbell. You can't go wrong with Bruce Campbell, especially when he has his boomstick. Can't go wrong with that. And if you haven't seen the show Ash vs. the Evil Dead, highly recommended. Very good. I do have the first season, and I will talk about that. It's very fun to watch, and it does really well. It's a lot of praise, mainly because it sticks with its originality. The next one on the list is a hard one for me to watch, mainly because I have a hard time with movies that deal with demons, demonic stuff, witchcraft. The Exorcist. The Exorcist is one of the best movies ever made, mainly because of how horrifying and how exhausting it is to watch. I mean, it is a long 2-hour movie, I believe. 2 hours? Yeah, over 2 hours. And it is very well done. It's good acting, good special effects, and I know that apparently the set had a lot of issues. They said it was pretty much cursed because of how they were filming about demonic stuff, and they went through a lot of shit when they were trying to film this movie. So it was very interesting to watch this movie and hear about the backstory, but mainly the movie itself, very horrifying, very frightening to watch. Next one is also an exorcism movie, The Exorcism of Emily Rose. This one, maybe not as good, but still a fun one to watch. Alright, and the next one is another franchise, Final Destination movies. These aren't exactly horrifying or exactly the greatest movies ever made, but they're still fun to watch, mainly because you like seeing some of the certain death scenes. They do an interesting way of killing off the people. It's very interesting, very well, it's puzzling. Sometimes you feel like the certain way that you feel like that they're going to get killed off proves you wrong, and then it shows a different way of how they get killed off. So I like how they do that. They make you double think about what's going to happen. And the next franchise on the list are the Friday the 13th movies. I finally was able to complete the collection after I found this one at Best Buy, 5 and 6. But I do have 1, 2, 3, and 4. I have 5 and 6. The 7th one. The 8th one. Jason Goes to Hell, Jason X, and Killer Cut, the remake. I like these movies. They're very good on stereotypical horror movies, and that's what started stereotypical horror movies. And it's just like it was doing that in a comedical way, I guess you could say. But at the same time, it's very enjoyable to watch, mainly because Jason's just a all-around popular, serial killer in the horror genre. Besides, Michael Myers, Freddy Krueger, and Chucky, and all them. He is very interesting to watch, and a lot of the scenes, I mean, it's very well done. No, not very well done. I keep saying well done about a lot of these movies, mainly because I just don't know how to say certain things about some of these movies. But they are fun to watch. They're not exactly scary, but they're fun to watch. And I did like the first three. The first three are great. After that, they kind of go a little overboard. Especially with Jason Goes to Hell, when people eat his brain and they become him, and it's messed up shit. Next one on the list is a kind of a horror / dark comedy, Funny Games. The thing I liked about this movie was that it broke the fourth wall. I love movies that break the fourth wall, such as Deadpool, and this movie does quite a great job at that. It's very well done, very, very horrifying to watch, and it's funny. It's hard to admit that it's funny, but at the same time, it's just horrifying to watch, especially a lot of the scenes that go on. It definitely is just enjoyable to watch with the whole breaking the fourth wall. I love that a whole lot in this movie. Now, the next one on the list may not be everyone's favorite, The Gallows. I don't know what it was about this movie, but it just was horrifying to me. It wasn't exactly the greatest movie. It wasn't exactly the worst movie. I know a lot of people talk shit about this movie, but I'm gonna stand up for it. The only thing I didn't like, though, I will say I agree on, is the characters. And one thing you have to have in a movie is good, lovable characters to count for, to hope that they make it through. And a lot of the characters just seemed like they were bullies, and I hated that. But the scare techniques were pretty interesting, and the twist to it was a little weird, but it was, in my opinion, still an enjoyable movie to watch. The next one on the list is definitely a good one to watch, The Gift. This one is filled with so many twists and so many turns that it just leaves you just in awe of how it ended. I would give more about it, but honestly, just watch the movie for yourself. It may seem like it's a little tedious at times, but believe me, it's worth a watch. Next one on the list is Gothika. Some people may not like this movie. I found it terrifying. I, for one, find insane asylums freaky in general. And this definitely freaked me out. Especially since it's a psychological thriller, and it just has so many shit that goes down in this movie that freaks me out. That just freaked me out. I remember I watched this movie when I was at ISU, and one of my friends had it, and so we watched it, and it was very freaky. Very freaky. Halle Berry does a good job in this movie, but that's not a surprise there. Halle Berry's a good actress, even when she has to pull through some movies like Catwoman. It was a good movie, but it may not be a fan for everyone. I still enjoyed it, though. I found it very freaky to watch. Now, the next one on the list is one of my most favorite movies, Gravity. Gravity stars Sandra Bullock and George Clooney, and it's probably one of the best movies I've seen that gains a lot of suspense. And it definitely has you question a whole lot, like The Shallows, how will she survive? Sandra Bullock does an amazing job in this movie, and by far shows that she's an amazing actress. And why I compare this to The Shallows, why I love, because they're both great movies. is that both of them show they're in a dire situation, and how are they going to survive it? You try to predict on what they may do next, and sometimes you're wondering, is there anything that they can do next? And yet somehow they find a way. And I love that they did this with this movie and The Shallows, which of course I will talk about The Shallows as well. The next one on the list is The Grudge and The Grudge 2. Now, I don't know what it is about these movies, but they horrify me. No, I know exactly what it is. It is the woman in this movie, the Grudge lady. I don't know what you want to call her, but she is fucking creepy. I remember when I first saw these movies, I went to go use the bathroom one night, and of course, when I turned the corner, I honestly just got freaked out after watching it. I saw something like my stepdad walk by through the hallway after he was using the bathroom, and it freaked me out because I mean it was dark and I couldn't see anything, and I honestly saw the movie, and of course right afterwards when I had to use the bathroom, it made me jump. So yeah, it was one of those movies that stick with me after I watched it. It's not exactly for everyone, but I still found them amusing to watch. Alright, so that is my list so far. I will start and continue on with H through, I don't know, probably through Z. Probably towards the end of my category because it is almost getting there, but then again, still got a lot to go through. Alright, um, expect a review up for American Horror Story Season 6. I did watch the episode last night, and I have a certain way I'm probably going to do it. I know with the last season, I kind of only reviewed certain episodes, but I didn't even continue on. I stopped like at episode 2 or 3. What I'm probably going to do is probably talk a little bit about what all we're seeing so far, and then I will talk about the mid-season review, and then I will do another one on the season finale and talk about the thing as a whole. Um, and I will also review Blair Witch. I'm very excited to see that, even though I've heard it's got some bad reviews. That's making me a little worried about it, but still, good or bad, I'm excited to see it. Alright, you guys have an awesome day, and yeah, peace out.